Janashatakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhubhe Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome to the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the nectar of devotion summary study. And we have been especially now discussing the topic of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. In the last many classes, we had quite an elaborate discussion on the second wave of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, which is Sadhana Bhakti. And within this second wave, till now, we have seen that this Uttama Bhakti is classified into Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, and Prema Bhakti. And then Rup Goswami goes on to define what is Sadhana Bhakti and gives scriptural evidence for it. Then he goes on to say that this Sadhana Bhakti is of two types, Vidha, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. And then he goes on to give the definition of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti with scriptural proofs. And then Adhikari, who is qualified to practice Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. There is the Uttama, Kanishta, and the Madhyama, Uttama, Madhyama, and Kanishta. And then there are the Mishra Bhaktas, the mixed devotees, who in coming in touch with the pure devotees from Mishra Bhakti, they can take up to Uttama Bhakti. And after discussing all these topics, then he comes to the Angas of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. He defines the 64 limbs of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. And then he starts giving scriptural proofs for these 64 limbs of devotional service. And after the 64 limbs of devotional service are discussed, some of the other secondary topics, like how Gyan and Vairagya are not the limbs of Bhakti, Varnashram is not the limbs of Bhakti, what are the primary and secondary benefits of practicing devotion, and other points Rupa Goswami elaborates, and then he completes the discussion of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Now, within the second wave is also Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. And from today onwards, we will be discussing this part of the second wave. Remember, we are still in the second wave. Eastern Division, second wave. And Raganuga Bhakti itself is quite an elaborate topic. And Rupa Goswami has discussed this in his Nectar of Devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu quite in detail. So this is the most bona fide text for understanding Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Of course, we need to know about Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti because that is the path which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to propagate. And we will see as we start discussing about Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, we can understand how lofty this practice is, and what are the qualifications one has to have to practice this Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Of course, I will not be going into quite detailed discussion about it because I will stick to only the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu verses. Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti itself is a wide, vast topic, and many acharyas have written books on it. But now, as a part of Bhakti Shastri study, we will only stick to Rupa Goswami's verses which deal with Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. And we will also see some of the points Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in his summary study. Okay, so let's begin with Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. We have finished this Pushti Marg, Maryada Marg. This was the last verse we discussed, if you remember. The Vaidhi path is governed by rules. Now, before I go into the verses, I'm just giving just a glimpse that Uttama Bhakti has these two divisions, Sadhana and Sadhya. And although these are the general two types, but the Sadhya is classified into Bhava and Prema because there is difference. And we have seen that. And the Sadhana is classified into Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. So now we will be beginning our discussion on Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Now, this is not part of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu verse, but it's a very important verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has actually come to give. Kaviraj Goswami is discussing. Prema rasa niryas korite aswadhana raga marga bhakti loka karite pracharana rasika shekara Krishna parama karuna ei dui hetu hoite ichara udgama. So Kaviraj Goswami in his Adi Leela, he is discussing this fourth chapter, the internal and the external reasons of the Lord's appearance. The Lord's desire to appear was born from two reasons. Ei dhui hetu haite icharadukam. What are the two reasons? The Lord wanted to taste the sweet essence of the mellows of love of Godhead. Prema rasa niryas karite aswada. Now we will keep this discussion a little interactive because the subject matter is a little grave and understanding is going to be not so easy. So what is Prema Rasa Niryas? Prema Ras. The Lord had come to taste the sweet essence of mellows of love of Godhead. So what it actually refers to? Kaviraj Goswami is saying Prema Rasa Niryas. Anyone would like to answer? What refer? Which rasa it refers to? Anyone would like to answer? Yes, Mohan Roop Sham Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. No, he wants to taste all the essence, like Vatsalya Rasa from his mother, Yashoda Maya, and then
No. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to relish
okay.
Prem Ras Niryas.
One separation of Lord Sri Krishna.
Yes, but which rasa? In which rasa?
Separation rasa. Forgot.
Yeah, but which rasa? There are 5 rasas. Among them, which rasa?
Yeah. Mata just mentioned Vipralamba.
Vipralamba is separation. Sambhoga is union, but which rasa? There are 5 different rasas, So which is the rasa Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come to relish? Yes, many are typing in the chat box that it is Madhurya Ras, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, and Prem Ras. Prem Ras, actually it is Madhurya Ras. Madhurya Ras, the highest rasa. Among the 5 rasas, it is the highest rasa. So it's not Prem Ras. There is no rasa called as Prem Ras. All are Prem. Shanta is also Prem. Dasya is also Prem. Sakya is also Prem. Vatsalya is also Prem. Madhurya is also Prem. But we have to be specific. So Prema Ras Niryas. Niryas means the topmost, or the peak, or the pinnacle. Korite Aswadana. He had come to relish that. He had come to relish that. And he wanted to propagate devotional service in the world on the platform of spontaneous attraction. Raga Marga Bhakti Loka Karite Prachara. So Mahaprabhu has come to give this bhakti, which is called as Raga Marga Bhakti. Raga Marga Bhakti. The Raga Marga Bhakti is what the Vrajvasis have, which they practice. It's not practice in one sense, which they have spontaneous loving attraction and devotion towards Krishna. Spontaneous, without any awe and reverence. So this is the path Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give. So that is why we need to understand what is this, spontaneous devotion, or what it is called as Raga Marga. Now we will see when we go into the Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti definition that actually Raganuga Sadhana is not actually spontaneous devotion. If you see, it is not spontaneous. The eternal associates of Krishna have spontaneous attraction towards Krishna. They are actually what is called as Ragatmika Bhaktas. So these pure devotees of the Vraj, who are related to Krishna in different rasas, this kind of bhakti, which is practiced in Vraj, this is what Mahaprabhu has come to propagate in this world. Thus, he is known as the supremely jubilant and as the most merciful of all. Rasika Shekhar. Rasika Shekhar Prabhupada says as supremely jubilant, and he is the merciful of all. Krishna Parama Karuna. Rasika Shekhar Krishna Parama Karuna. So Rasika Shekhar means the peak, Shikhar as we say. So Krishna is Rasika Shekhar, and he has come to relish or taste the topmost rasa, which is the Madhurya Ras, in the mood of the gopis, especially the topmost gopi, that is Srimati Radharani. So Krishna, based on this kind of, Krishna is known by various names based on the pastimes. So based on rasa, Can devotees tell some of the names of Krishna based on rasa only? Yeah? I hope the question is clear. Just based on rasa, what are the different names of Krishna? Here one is being already spoken, that is Rasika Shekhar. Krishna is known as Rasika Shekhar. So anyone else, other names? Yes, Radha Ras Bihari. Wonderful. These are the presiding deities of our head office in India, that is Juhu, Bombay. Prabhupada named the deities as Radha Ras Bihari. He is Bihari means one who takes pleasure, or Vihari, no? Bihari. So Ras mein Vihar karte hain Krishna. So he is Radha Ras Bihari. Any other names based on rasa? Rasika Shekhar is there now. Radha Ras Bihari is there. Any other names? Anyone else? Any other names of Krishna? Okay. Kalyani Mataji has raised her hand. Yes, Mataji.
Kunj Bihari.
Kunj Bihari. You have to understand the question very clearly. Based only on rasa, the name should be related of Krishna. Kunj Bihari means in the Kunjas, he Bihar karte hain, Bihar karte hain. So the rasa word is not coming up there. Just based on rasa, his name should be identified. I hope devotees again are clear with the question. Yes, somebody else has raised a hand. Yes, Kalyani Mataji. Yes.
Rasika Nandan.
Rasika Nandan. Rasika Nandana. I have first time coming across this. Nandan refers to Krishna, but anywhere where you referred this to? Rasika Nandan?
I think there was the Harinam Kosh. So there I have seen.
Okay. Then it's quite bona fide. Rasik Nandan, yes. Rasik Nandan, yes. First time I'm hearing this name. Any other names of Krishna based on rasa? What happened to devotees? Devotees are studying Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and they are not able to. Krishna is called as Akhila Rasamrita Murti. Akhila Rasamrita Murti, the first verse of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That is also a name of Krishna. Rasika Shekhar is there, like that. Ras Raj is there. Raj means king. He is the king of all rasas. Ras Raj, Rasika Shekhar, Rasananda, Ras Bihari, as it was mentioned here. So like that, there are n number of names of Krishna just based on rasa, just based on Rasananda. Rasananda. So Rasanandan was said. So Rasanand is also there. So like that, there are n number of names based on. So Rasika Shekhara Krishna Parama Karuna. So Raga Marga Bhakti Loke Karite Prachan. He had come to propagate this Rag Marg. So that's why it is also important that devotees should know what is this Raga Marg Bhakti or what is Raganuga Bhakti. And that's why right in the Eastern Division, within the second wave, is Raganuga Bhakti being discussed. Okay, now we begin actually the verses from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Atha Raganuga. 269 verse ended with Vaidhi Bhakti discussion, if you know. Vaidhi Bhakti Ra'iyam Kaishchan Maryada Marg, the path of rules, 269. Now 270, we start with Raganuga Bhakti. Yes, Mataji, you have a question?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, you didn't answer your question, Prabhu.
What was the question?
I mean, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give two things. So he was in which rasa or bhava, something you are asking. The second one, you say that he...
No, which rasa he had come to relish?
Yeah.
My question was, and we discussed, it was Madhurya Ras.
Okay, okay. Thank
It
you.
was Madhurya Ras. Highest. Niryas means highest. Although all other rasas, but Niryas, the topmost. Okay, so now we begin with the discussion on Raganuga Bhakti. This is the first verse, and this defines what is the definition of Raganuga Bhakti. Virajantim abhivektam rajavasi janadishu ragatmikam anusruta yasa raganugochate. Raganuga Bhakti is defined as Sa Raganuga Uchate, that Bhakti which follows after Ragatmika Bhakti, Ragatmikam Anusruta Ya, found distinctively Virajantim Abhivaktam, or it is resplendently manifested. It is splendidly manifested where? In the inhabitants of Vraj. Vrajvasi Janadishu. So these Ragatmika Bhakti is found only in the inhabitants of Vraj. Vrajvasi Janadishu. So what is Raganuga Bhakti? Definition: that Bhakti which follows after Ragatmika Bhakti, which is found in the inhabitants of Vraj. So after hearing this definition, simple definition of Raganuga Bhakti, what will be your question? What will be your question? Anyone? What should be your question hearing the definition of Raganuga Bhakti? Raganuga Bhakti is defined as that Bhakti which follows after Ragatmika Bhakti, which is found in the inhabitants of Vraj. Yes. Yes, Dhan Lakshmi Mataji.
Maybe our question should be about the inhabitants of Raj and what is their mood.
Maybe from this definition itself, if you could. Yes, this is what I was looking for. We'll ask then, what is Ragatmika Bhakti then? We are defining Raganuga Bhakti as following the Ragatmika Bhaktas, which is found, Bhakta, that which is found distinctly in the inhabitants of Raj. So what is Ragatmika Bhakti? So that will be our question. So this is what exactly Rupa Goswami will also do. But before we go into that, there is only one line commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti. That is called Raganuga Bhakti, which follows after Ragatmika Bhakti, which manifest Virajantim distinctively Abhibhaktan in the inhabitants of Raj. Now, before we go into what is Ragatmika Bhakti, then I am here showing you a chart just to get you some understanding of what is Raganuga Bhakti. Now we know that Sadhana Bhakti has these two divisions, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Now Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is governed by rules, Vaidhi Bhakti rules, and it is devotion to Krishna. Now Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, strictly speaking, it is not spontaneous devotion towards Krishna directly. Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti actually is not spontaneous devotion towards Krishna. Spontaneous devotion towards Krishna is only there in the eternal associates of Krishna, who are the Ragatmika Bhaktas, eternally perfected devotees. They have spontaneous devotion towards Krishna. Now the Raganuga Bhakti is called spontaneous in the sense that the Raganuga sadhaka is spontaneously attracted to follow the Ragatmika bhaktas who have spontaneous attraction towards Krishna. So his attraction is not directly towards Krishna. Of course, it is pointed towards Krishna only, but it is more attraction towards the Ragatmika bhaktas, and he wants to follow their mood because they have that pure attraction for Krishna, and they are fixed in that. So that is how Raganuga Bhakti is not actually spontaneous devotion. Actually, real spontaneous devotion begins in Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti also. In Bhava Bhakti, it is spontaneous attraction towards Krishna is there because the Jiva's Swarup is revealed, and his rasa with Krishna is also revealed in Bhava Bhakti stage. So in Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, the sadhaka is quite purified, and he is particularly attracted to a particular rasa. It can be the sakas of Krishna who are in Sakyaras. So he is more attracted to follow Sridhama or Sudhama, and that's why he hears from the 10th canto Krishna's pastimes with his cowherd friends. And that is why he wants to follow now in the footsteps of Sridhama and Sudama. They are mood of worship towards Krishna. He wants to emulate that mood. The sadhaka. And remember, he is a sadhaka because this is part of sadhana bhakti. Or a sadhaka, Raganuga sadhaka, he's spontaneously attracted now to the Vatsalya ras of Mother Yashoda and Nand Maharaj. So he wants to follow in their footsteps, who have spontaneous pure attraction towards Krishna, and he wants to emulate their devotion, what Nand Maharaj and Yashoda has. These are all Ragatmika Bhaktas, and the Raganuga Bhakta follows this. Similar with Madhurya Ras. To understand this, let me give you an example which illustrates the point very clearly. Suppose you want to learn tennis, playing tennis. In the Wimbledon, you want to go in the Wimbledon and win the Wimbledon Cup. So you start practicing tennis under a trainer. And the trainer basically trains you how to, hit the ball, how to hold the bat, how to, hit the ball from the left direction, from the right direction, how to make the movement of the hands, how to toss the ball. So all these learning of the tennis, which is governed by rules, is trained by the trainer for you to learn tennis. So this is like, the trainer is like the spiritual master, and the rules, there is the book. You follow the book to, practice tennis, and you're doing the net practice there. So this is like for us, the rules of bhakti given in our bhakti scriptures. Now, as this person starts getting a good grip by following the rules, he starts observing some of the Wimbledon champions. How do they play? Just like, let us take, I don't remember the latest Wimbledon or tennis players, famous players, but I can speak about something 25 years back. So 25 years back, it was Pete Sampras, if you know. I don't know how many of you know. Pete Sampras and Steffi Graf, they were like great number one in the world, tennis players who had won also many times the Wimbledon. I don't know any other names. If you know, you can suggest. But I remember Pete Sampras and Steffi Graf. There was another player. I'm not able to recollect his name. So this person who is getting trained in tennis, now he starts seeing the videos of Steffi Graf or Pete Sampras, And he starts playing strokes. John McEnroe, yes, I think, yes. So he starts playing tennis, not so much by following the rule of the book, but following, the tennis acharya, you can say, Pete Sampras or Steffi Graf or whatever it is. So he spontaneously starts getting, Boris Becker was also very famous that time. Yes, I remember Boris Becker, who many times won the Wimbledon. So examples are clear, I hope. So this tennis player who is getting trained, now he has a spontaneous attraction to follow in the footsteps of, his role model, whoever it is, and starts mastering playing tennis. He is no more impelled to follow the book rules, Similarly, by practicing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, impelled by the rules, with the purification of the heart, actually, when one reaches the stage of Nishtha, then he is quite purified at that stage. And slowly, he is the Sthita Pragya. The Nishtha stage is the Sthita Pragya stage, what Gita speaks in 2.55 to 2.72, a self-realized soul. So now he has realized that he is not this body, he is a spirit soul. Now the spiritual development of the body, the spiritual body, begins from the stage of Nishtha, and there where Raganuga Sadhana also begins. And he, by his practice of hearing and chanting and hearing Gita, Bhagavatam, his natural proclivity or natural affinity towards particular mood, it can be Vatsalya, Sakya, Dasya, and Madhurya, and especially in this line of Rupa Goswami, it is especially the mood of Madhurya, and especially in the Manjari Bhav. So that is what Mahaprabhu has come to give, in fact. So he is naturally inclined. He's attracted to the pastimes of Krishna in the 10th canto, especially of the gopis. So he starts practicing his devotion following the Ragatmika Bhaktas, who have spontaneous attraction towards Lord Krishna. So that is how, what is the definition given as Raganuga Bhakti? Raganuga Bhakti is that Bhakti which is Bhakti following the Ragatmika Bhaktas, which is specifically or distinctively found in the Brajvasis. So that was what is given in the definition, if you saw. Raganuga Bhakti is defined as that Bhakti which follows after the Ragatmika Bhakti found distinctively in the inhabitants of Raj. So I have just given some hint and glimpse of what exactly is Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. We will now look into okay, what is Ragatmika Bhakti? But if devotees have any questions up till now, what we have discussed, you can raise your hands. We can take up any questions. Pavan Bal Govind Prabhuji is a very enthusiastic devotee. I am really inspired by Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dhanur Pranam Prabhu.
Yes.
It's a very simple doubt actually. Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti once follows Raganuga Bhakti. So he's also
come again,
has
come again. Can you come again?
Raganuga Bhakti. Once a devotee follows Raganuga Bhakti.
No. Raganuga Bhakti means one who follows the Ragatmika Bhakta.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. When he is following the Ragatmika Bhakti, the devotee is also performs Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti along with that.
Okay, very interesting question. Raganuga Bhakti, when one is spontaneously impelled by, actually he is impelled by greed. It will come up later on. he's impelled by lobh, spiritual greed. The greed, he also wants to possess that same mood of those eternal associates. Impelled by that greed, he follows in the footsteps of these Ragatmika Bhaktas, and the rules and regulations, he's no more, they are no more binding upon him. They are no more binding upon him. His impetus to practice bhakti comes from that lobh, that spiritual greed, that I want to attain that same mood what these eternal associates have. So like that, a Raganuga Bhakti is, we can understand whether we are, are we qualified to practice Raganuga Bhakti? Do we have that spiritual greed first? Second, are we at the stage of Nishtha? Yes, if we have this, then we become, it is naturally revealed to us. It is something which is a natural process as we grow in the different stages of bhakti. So a Raganuga sadhaka, although he is very, very advanced in his spiritual life, his bhakti practice is basically that spiritual greed to possess the mood of the eternal associates. But seeing him externally, nobody can understand that he is practicing Raganuga Bhakti. One. Externally, he follows the rules and regulations of Vaidhi Bhakti just to set an example to the other devotees in the community. Just to set an example. Otherwise, his bhakti is not impelled by the rules. His bhakti is more impelled by the greed. But he follows all the rules and regulations just to set an example. This is a major difference. This is a major difference between the Raganuga sadhaka. And please note and understand that Raganuga, to begin or to come to the stage of Nishtha itself, is very, very lofty. Very, very lofty stage in our spiritual life. So once one comes to the stage of Nishtha, practically it's like you're heading towards perfection. No doubt about it. You're just heading towards perfection. Of course, especially Prabhupada was very careful to protect this, very, very sacred path which Mahaprabhu, through the Goswamis has given, which we can take it very easily. We will see the adhikar for practicing Raganuga Bhakti is Smaran. Smaran means continuous remembrance of Krishna, 24 hours a day. Are we at that level of Smaran? We are still trying to understand the philosophy by doing Shravan and trying to preach the philosophy by doing Kirtan. But the most important element in Raganuga Bhakti is Smaran. That means purification of the mind has happened, where the mind is spontaneously remembering Krishna. Twayi me ananya vishaya. As Kunti Maharani is praying that let my mind be always flowing towards you. Madhupate Sakrit. And just like the Ganges flows towards the ocean, let my mind or consciousness flow towards you. So these are the qualifications, and this is how we can understand that you can never figure out that somebody is on the level of practice of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, and somebody says that he's practicing it, then he's trying to actually, nobody will reveal about these things. It's only another advanced devotee or a spiritual master who knows that this sadhaka is at a lofty level of his practice. Others cannot understand. Is it okay? Clear, Prabhuji? Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? Any other clarifications anyone has? We have still not started our discussion on what is Ragatmika Bhakti, but we have just defined what is Raganuga Bhakti, and I hope that chart was very clear as to what is Raganuga Bhakti. So I'm going a little slow now, and once we little start understanding these concepts, then we will go a little fast. So now let us go to the next slide. Next verse. Raganuga Vivekartam Ado Ragatmikochate. In order to define Raganuga Bhakti, Raganuga Vivekartam, first Ragatmika Bhakti should be discussed. Ado Ragatmika Uchyate. So because we saw in the previous definition of Raganuga Bhakti, he says following Ragatmika Bhakti, which is found in Raj. Now you'll ask the question, what is Ragatmika Bhakti? So before now I go into Raganuga Bhakti, I will define Ragatmika Bhakti. That's what Rupa Goswami says. And in fact, if you see in the entire 40 verses of 272 to 310, 40 verses deal with Raganuga Bhakti. Major verses are of Ragatmika Bhakti only. The major discussion is about Ragatmika Bhakti. Because we need to know these Ragatmika Bhaktas. They are not Bhaktas, but they are eternally perfected beings. Because we have to follow in their footsteps. So more discussion is there in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu about Ragatmika Bhakti in one sense. Okay. So let us see now Ragatmika Bhakti. Now this verse gives the definition of Ragatmika Bhakti. Now we had seen Raga Marga Bhakti Karite Prachan. Here, the definition is given. What is this Raga Marga? Now let us recite this verse. Ishte swarasiki raga paramavishtata bhavet dhanmai ya bhavet bhakti satra ragatmikodita. Ishte swarasiki raga paramavishtata bhavet dhanmai ya bhavet bhakti satra ragatmikodita. I want also devotees to recite some of the verses of Sadhana Bhakti, which are not part of your memorization, but they are important. Like this verse is also very important. And this verse also. Very, very important verses. Rag is defined as Rag Bhavet, spontaneous, Swarasiki, deep thirst, Parama Avishtata, for the object of love. Ishte. Bhakti that is impelled exclusively by such a thirst. Tanmai ya bhavet bhakti is called Ragatmika Bhakti. Sa atra Ragatmika udita. So in this verse, Rupa Goswami is giving the definition of what is Ragatmika Bhakti. Rag means, this is nothing to do with Marathi rag. Marathi rag means anger. Rag means a deep attraction or spontaneous attraction. Rag is defined as spontaneous, deep thirst, paramavishtata. There is so much avishta of the object of love. The object of love is Krishna, Ishte, for the Ishta. And that bhakti which is impelled exclusively by that kind of thirst, Tanmai ya bhavet bhakti, is called Ragatmika Bhakti. Now let us see the commentaries of Jeev Goswami and Vishwanath Chakra Thakur, which will make the definition clear. Okay. Now, Jeev Goswami. Ishte refers to the person towards whom one has loving sentiments. Now, how many of you have come across this word Ishte? Raise your hands. How many of you have come across this word Ishte? Raise your hands. One, two. Okay, only two. Okay. Yes, Nitya Sevini Mataji, what is your understanding about Ishte?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandvat Pranam. Ishta means what we have love towards the others,
Yes.
like our feelings towards the relatives or kids or parents, etc.
Yeah. This is in a very generic
Ishta.
sense,
Yes, Ishta.
when sometimes, this item is very dear to me. Ye morally bahut priya hai, we say.
Yes.
Ishte, we have a lot of, liking for that particular item. So the Goswamis, although the 6 Goswamis worshipable deities are Radha and Krishna only, but if you see, all the 6 Goswamis had their Ishtadev. So in the Gaudiya terminology, we have this what is called as Ishtadev. So Rup Goswami had his Ishtadev. Sanatan Goswami had his Ishtadev, that is Madan Mohan. Then Gopal Bhatt Goswami had his Ishtadev. That is, I don't recollect, the Tribhanga, beautiful deity of which manifested from the Shaligram. That's only, I think, Radha Raman. Yes. Radha Raman, yes. Radha Raman. So you see, all the 6 Goswamis had their own particular deities, particular mood, particular manifestation of Krishna. Although it is that same Krishna, same Radha and Krishna of Braj, but their mood was quite different. In fact, 2 twins who are born also at the same time, because there will be some time gap for a few seconds also. Although they are similar, but their likings can change. They can be quite drastic also. Similarly, every jiva in his spiritual world has a particular mood in which he worships Radha and Krishna. And although it is same Radha and Krishna, but the mood can be different. So that's why all the Goswamis had their Ishtadev. So here Ishta refers to the person towards whom one has loving sentiments. And our love should be exclusively only for Krishna. This right in the preface, Prabhupada has made it very clear. In fact, His Holiness Bhakti Tirth Maharaj makes a very remarkable statement. He says that the moment we impose our love on any other object than Krishna, we only experience misery. So this is what Ishte, yes. Swarasiki means natural or spontaneous. Swarasiki, spontaneous. Paramavishtata, extreme engrossment. Actually means thirst intrinsic to prema, which is the cause of being engrossed. So you have so much love to that object that there is the external manifestation of that is that there is complete engrossment. We have, people have attraction to watching TV, and so much they have love for watching cricket match or tennis match, especially in India cricket match. That whole day they are just in front of the scene because their love is there for that game. So that's why there is full engrossment. So Swarasiki, or it means that there is natural spontaneous attraction in the heart internally, and it manifests externally in the form of complete engrossment in that. Thus, Raga is defined as spontaneous, intense thirst for one's object of love. That is how Raga is defined. The cause, the love thirst, is considered different from the effect. Sorry, non-different from the effect, deep absorption, because of its extremely strong connection as the cause. So the cause is inside, there is love for the Supreme Being, Krishna. And because this cause is there, the effect is what? There is complete absorption in that object, complete absorption in that object. So that is how cause and effect are non-different. This is similar to saying life is ghee. Ghee is a different thing. life is, they are too different. But sometimes we are, body is dependent on actually pure ghee. So life is ghee when we say. Ghee is the cause of long life, but is spoken as its equivalent to show the importance of ghee as a cause. We know that in the Mahabharata, the 100 sons of Duryodhan, how they manifested when, Vyasadev, he kept them in ghee pots, and life manifested from that. So life is ghee in one sense. So the thirst, deep thirst, is the cause of, the effect of that is deep absorption. In that, they are non-different. So like that, life and ghee are non-different. That is what the example is being given here. Further, thus by mentioning the effect, that is what? Absorption. Paramavishtata. One should infer the cause, thirst for the object of love. Now, if you can see that there is somebody who is deeply absorbed in something, seeing the effect, you can say, oh, he's got a lot of love for that. Somebody has deep absorption in watching cricket whole day, and he has got love for, inside deep thirst and love for cricket is there. Somebody has a lot of love for eating, manchuri or fried rice or finger chips. He has love. He has got ishta for that. That is his ishta dev. So you can understand that he has got love. The effect, seeing the effect, you can deduce the cause. This fact should be considered in other verses also. Tanmayi, composed only of that thirst, means that which is only that, what is impelled only by that thirst. Tanmayi, just like there is Strimayi. Strimayi means a person who is absorbed in a woman. He is called as Strimayi. And Mother Yashoda is called as Yashoda Mayi. Yashoda Mayi means is full consciousness is only absorbed in Krishna. Similarly, Radharani's name is also Mayi is there. I don't recollect. Radhika Mayi it is. Chaitanya Charitamrita explains also many other names like that. Vishwanath Chakra Thakur, Swarasiki, spontaneous absorption, Paramavishtata, in one's object of love, Ishte is called Rag. Very nicely, Vishwanath Chakra Thakur explains it. The word Avishtata, absorption, is the same as its cause. This we have seen now. Thus, it infers the love-filled thirst that gives rise to absorption. The love-filled thirst gives rise to absorption. That thirst is called Rag. Very beautifully, Vishwanath Chakra Thakur further clarifies. Thus, the complete meaning of the sentence is that love-filled thirst or actions inspired by it, such as stringing garlands for Krishna, which generates complete absorption in the object of love, is called Ragamika Bhakti. There is no fault in this rag, even though it may not conform to expected rules, because it is governed by love, impelled by love. The material world, in a general sense, I'm making this statement. The material world is governed by the laws of nature. Everyone is governed by the laws of nature. The spiritual world is governed by love, prem. Krishna is controlled by love, and the jivas are controlled by love there. And here in the material world, the jivas are controlled by the laws of nature. So it is completely, based on spontaneous attraction, and there is no conformity to the rules. Okay, so we have now understood what is the definition of Ragatmika Bhakti. Now further we will go into types of Ragatmika Bhakti. There are two types, Sambandha Rupa and Kama Rupa. Now before I go into that, any questions regarding what we discussed up till now? Any questions, any clarifications? Any questions or any clarifications? Anyone has about the definition of Ragatmika Bhakti? I hope it is clear. Okay, then we will go to now types of Ragatmika Bhakti. Next verse of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Sa kama rupa sambandha rupa cheti bhave dvida. There are two types of Ragatmika Bhakti. Sa dvida bhavet, that impelled by conjugal feelings, kama rupa, and that impelled by other relationships, sambandha rupa. Kama rupa sambandha rupa cha iti. Now you will ask the question, what is kama rupa and what is sambandha rupa? Rupa Goswami will come to that. Rupa Goswami's explanation of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is very, very systematic and logical. And the topics flow is very, very systematic. So before we go into that, let us see the commentary here. Ragatmika Bhakti is now of two types. Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti, Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti. I hope it is clear up till now. Now, Jeev Goswami's commentary. Kama Rupa means that bhakti which is typified, rupyate, or impelled by conjugal feelings. Kama, a particular type of thirst. So this refers to which rasa? Anyone knows can raise their hands. Which rasa it is referring to? Anyone can raise their hand? Which rasa it refers to? Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti. It's quite obvious. It's also mentioned which rasa it refers to among the five, at least the four rasas. Shant rasa we don't consider. Okay, there are 3-4 answers. Everyone is typing. No, Prem Rasa, there is, I want to make it clear. No, there is nothing called as Prem Rasa as among the 5 rasas. All are Prem Rasa only, but different relationships. There is Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhuri. So it refers to the Madhuri Ras, the conjugal feelings of the gopis in relationship to Krishna. A particular type of thirst. Sambandha Rupa means that bhakti undertaken or impelled by thirst caused by relationships. Now, here, what Jeev Goswami is saying, Kama Rupa means which is impelled by conjugal feelings, particular type of thirst. Sambandha Rupa means also impelled by thirst caused by relationship. Why Kama Rupa is separately labeled? It is also a type of relationship. There is, in Madhuri Ras, there is a relationship of the lover and the beloved. In Sambandha Rupa also there is relationship of mother and father or friend towards another friend and friend and the servant in Dasya. So why Kama Rupa is separately labeled when it is also a relationship? Even if you see Kama Rupa also is Sambandha. So why we have separately labeled it? So this is the question Rupa Goswami asks. Though Kama Rupa is a type of relationship, it is labeled separately since it is the chief relationship. Example, it is similar to saying everyone is coming and the king is also coming. Though the word everyone includes the king, special mention is made of the king because of his importance. So similarly, all these are Sambandha Rupa only, but we specify that this is the king of all rasa. The conjugal ras or the Madhur ras is the topmost. So that is why special mention is made by mentioning it as Kama Rupa. Just like we say, everyone is coming for today's program and the king is also coming. Array, everyone includes the king. Why you have to separately mention the king? So this is why, because of the king's importance. So this is also Ras Raj, or the topmost of the all rasas, and that is why it is separately labeled. Now, Rupa Goswami, just like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, different angas were mentioned and the anga proofs were given. he gives now scriptural proof for the two types of Ragatmika Bhakti. He from the Bhagavatam gives proof for the two types of Ragatmika Bhakti, scriptural proof. Where in the scriptures in the Bhagavatam is these two types of Bhakti, Rama Sambandha Rupa and Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti, where it is mentioned, he proves it from the Shastra, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, just to get the subject clear, Ragatmika Bhakti is of two types. Can anyone raise their hand and answer which are those two types of Ragatmika Bhakti? What about others? Two hands have been raised. I'll have to ask the other devotees who don't raise their hands now. Okay. There are three hands which are raised. Let us ask those who are really not actively participating in our discussions. Dhanalakshmi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, it's Kama Rupa and Sambandha Rupa.
Yeah. We can be still more specific. Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti, Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti. Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. Now, the scriptural proof is being given. Yata hi saptame. That is the 7th canto. These are two famous verses. I will just recite the verses, then go to the translation, and then we'll go into the commentary. Now we'll have to very attentively hear the commentary of Jeev Goswami to understand this. So after I finish discussing the whole slides on this, and then if you have questions, please raise your hands. In between, if there is any question which comes to your mind, make a mental note or note it on a paper. And after I finish the discussions on these slides, then only ask the question. So let me recite these verses and then we will go into the commentary and then we will take up questions. Kama dveshat bhayat snehat yata bhakteshware mana avishya tad agam hitva bhavastad gatim gata gopya kamat bhayat kamsa dveshat chaidyadayo nripa sambandhat vrishnaya snehat yuyam bhaktya vayam vibhu. Just as by Vaidhi Bhakti one can attain one's spiritual goals, Yatha Bhaktya, many persons, Bahava, have attained suitable forms. Tad Gatim Gata. How? After absorbing their minds in the Lord, Mana Ishware Avishya. How? Out of thirst, hatred, fear. Kamad, Dveshat, Bhaya. And family relationships filled with affection, snehad. And after giving up absorption and enmity of the Lord, the case of hatred and fear, tad agam hitva. Agam means, the sin. Hitva. After giving up that enmity, they have attained the Lord. This translation is of Jeev Goswami or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It is not Prabhupada's translation because they exactly are enumerating the more details as per Sanskrit Anvay. Gopya Kamat. Okay, my dear Yudhishthir, Vibhu. Now Narad Muni in the 7th canto is addressing to you, Yudhishthir, in their question answer discussion. This is happening. The gopis by their conjugal desires. Gopya Kamat. Kamsa by his fear. Bhayat Kamsa. Shishupal and other kings by envy. Dveshat Chaidya Adayo Nripa. And the Yadus and you, Pandavas, Krishnaya Yuyam, by your affectionate family relationship with Krishna, Snehat Sambandhat, and we, Vayam means we, by our Vaidhi Bhakti have attained the mercy of the Lord, Vayam Bhaktya. So these are the different ways we can absorb our mind in Krishna, become purified and attain the Lord. Kama, Dveshat, Bhayat, Snehat, and by bhakti. And the examples in the next verse are given. Now let us see the commentary, full commentary of Jeev Goswami, and maybe, I don't know, it is Vishwanath Thakur also, and then we will discuss the questions. Because of the impossibility of regulating the feelings that arise spontaneously according to their own taste, those persons filled with conjugal attraction and other emotions mentioned in the verse cannot be classed as practitioners of Vaidhi Bhakti. So this is the first important point, that there is spontaneous attraction towards that object. So that's why they cannot be classed as Vaidhi Bhaktas. The following statement has been made. Later on, Narad Muni himself will tell to Yudhishthira Maharaj, Tasmad Vairanu Bandena Nirvairena Bhayena Va Snehad Kamena Va Yunjat Kadachin Nekshate Pratak. By continuous enmity, Tasmad Vairanu Bandena, by favorable relations, Nirvairena Va, Nirvairena, or by conjugal feelings arising from strong spiritual affection. Snehat kamena va, out of fear of transgressing morality as an unmarried lover or even as a married lover. Bhayena va, the mind should concentrate on the Lord. Kadachin yunjat, one will realize a relationship with the Lord only according to the mode of practice. Na ikshate pratak. And later on, the famous statement, Narad Muni says, knowing this, Tasmat kenapi upayena mana Krishna nivesha. This is the glory of that object of love, that is Krishna, that even a person with enmity, if he focuses his consciousness on Krishna, he will get purified and he'll attain the Lord. So that is why somehow or the other we should Mana Krishna Niveshat. We should absorb mind in Krishna, because the object is so supremely pure that one can get purified and attain the Lord. So that will come later on in the verses, I think. In this verse, the verb yunjat, in the potential mood, indicating possibility rather than injunction, which belongs to Vaidhi Bhakti. So we're not going to the Sanskrit, because only the Sanskrit people will know, what is this potential mood verb. But just to make it clear that it is not an injunction now, start, expressing fear emotions towards Krishna. You cannot, instruct someone to do like that. If you have envy towards Krishna and seeing Krishna, you will become envious. And if you have fear of Krishna, that Krishna will kill you, just like Kamsa had, those emotions will directly spontaneously come. You cannot order someone to now become fearful like that. So it is in a potential mood. The meaning is thus, it is possible to concentrate on the Lord through enmity, devotion, fear, affection, or conjugal love, rather than one should concentrate on the mind through enmity, devotion, fear, affection, or conjugal attraction. One cannot order a person to have these emotions. Bhav means emotions, we know. So these are pure spiritual emotions here. Of course, these are unfavorable, fear and enmity, that will come up later on. But just to make it clear, these are emotions, and nobody can say that now out of fear, start concentrating on Krishna. If you have that fear, then spontaneously that fear will come when you see Krishna, just like Kamsa had. So that is why it doesn't belong to Vaidhi Bhakti. That's the point. It's not an injunction. But then in the sequence of verses, it is also said, Tasmat kenapi upayena mana Krishna nivesha. Therefore, one may become absorbed in Krishna by any favorable method. Later on, Narad Muni will tell Yudhishthira Maharaj. In this statement, the potential mood indicates approval. One may become absorbed in Krishna. Yatha in verse 274 means yathavat, correspondingly. So verse 274 refers to here. This is to Kama Dveshat. So verse 274 means this verse, Kama Dvesha, correspondingly. Tad gatim means an appropriate form. You will get an appropriate form. If you have conjugal attraction and you absorb your mind in Krishna, that is spontaneous attraction, then you'll get an appropriate form of a gopi. If you are attracted in the form of Sakyaras, then you'll get a gopvesh, of a form of a cowherd boy. So that is the meaning of Tadgatim. Therefore, the meaning of verse 274 is many persons absorbing their minds in the Lord out of conjugal feelings, hatred, fear, affection, and devotion attained according to their type of absorption, yathavat, a suitable form. Yathavat. That is the meaning of yathavat. Note, those who intensely concentrate on the Lord with hatred or fear can attain liberation, but not prema. This refers to hatred, fear, especially the demons like Kamsa, Shishupal, all this. They attain liberation, but not prema. Rupa Goswami will substantiate that in the future coming verses. Among those persons, those with hatred or fear gave up their sins or impurity by the power of absorbing their minds in the Lord. The object is Krishna, and even out of hatred, when they absorbed their consciousness, what was the effect? They were able to give up their sins, because that is the power of the object. This statement, however, does not apply to those persons with conjugal feelings, calm. Why? They have no sin. The calm mentioned is not material. Here in that verse, Kama Dvesha, that calm doesn't refer to, material calm. The supreme nature of the gopis' calm is shown in the following statement. Dvishan api reshi kesham kim utadoksha priya. Since even Shishupal, who hated Krishna, achieved perfection, then what to speak of the Lord's dear gopis? So the gopis' love has been glorified, who are very priya to the Lord. How can the Nitya Siddha devotees, such as the gopis, be described as attaining calm? This is again a question raised by Jeev Goswami. Now Vishwanath Chakra Thakur answers this. One should not say, how can the Nitya Siddha devotees, such as the gopis, being described as attaining calm and other relationships, since those relationships are eternal. The intention is to show the state of Purva Rag that they experience during Krishna's earthly pastimes. Now, what is this Purva Rag? I think it is mentioned. The love in separation of two lovers before they ever meet each other is called Purva Rag. Now, Krishna's pastimes, especially the example is of gopis. So let us take that. In the spiritual world, the gopis have conjugal love with Krishna, Kama Rupa Ragamika Bhakti, and there is separation and union. There is separation in Vipralamba and Sambhog happening in the entire day of Krishna, and that is throughout the different times of the day, the different pastimes of Krishna are happening in the eternal world. But when Krishna comes in this world, he manifests in this world, he goes through the childhood, taking birth, the Bala Rupa, and then the Pauganda Rupa, the Pauganda age, and then the Kavishwara age comes in. Now the gopis also eternally in the spiritual world they have a particular form and a particular age, and eternally they are that age. But the Nitya Siddha gopis who come also with Krishna, his parikar, who come in this world to enact pastimes, they also are born as gopis in the elderly gopis, womb. They are born, and they also go through childhood, and they also attain the Kaishore age. And there is at that time an attraction which develops. When Krishna also attains that Kaishore age. And that is what is called as actually Purva Raga. Now, this, devotees are, I'm just giving a mundane example just to relate and understand the subject. That usually kids, if you see, they will play with other, kids, they be girls or boys. Girls and boys play together. And only after a certain age, especially when the boy turns 13, 14 or the girl turns 13, 14, then that sense comes in, these are male boys, I should not play with them. Because the natural attraction between the male and female manifest. As Shankaracharya says, Bal Avastha, Krida Sakta, Tarun Avastha, Taruni Asakta. So the natural attraction of the male and female starts, as one starts becoming a youth. So similarly, the spontaneous madhurya or the conjugal love is there in these Nitya Siddha gopis who have taken birth, and it manifests when Kaishora age is attained by Krishna, and they also attain that age. So this love and separation of the two lovers before they ever meet each other is called Purva Raga. This is what Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Eastern, Southern, Western Division, the different rasas are discussed. There, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu mentions this. So that is why it is not that they attained Kama. It's not Kama, it is actually Prema, it is pure love. The same applies to the Vrishnis. So just like the gopis go through this different ages and attain Kaishora and attain that attraction, conjugal attraction for Krishna, similarly, the Vrishnis also. Now, note here. Now, I will ask you a question. Whom does the Vrishnis refer to? You have all heard about the Vrishnis. What do you think the Vrishnis refer to here? Whom it might refer to? Anyone would like to answer can raise their hand. It is a little thoughtful question. Whom do you think the Vrishnis refer to? The Vrishnis are not called, the Pandavas are not called as Vrishnis. The Pandavas are called as Pandavas. Whom does the Vrishnis refer to? Anyone would like to answer also can raise their hands. Whom does the Vrishnis refer to? Anyone? Yes. Yes, Pavan Balgoin Prabhu has typed. Vaishali Mataji has typed. Okay. Now, I will ask question. Those who have answered. Pavan Balgoin Prabhuji, you had typed. Now, especially the Vrishnis refer to, you said, the Yadus there in Dwarka. But are they Ragatmika Bhaktas is my question.
It's a difficult one.
Pardon?
It's a difficult one.
No. Only based on the definition what we heard about Ragatmika Bhakti, are the Vrishnis in Dwarka, they are also eternal Nitya Siddha devotees. But are they Ragatmika Bhaktas?
Yeah, I think they are Ragatmika Bhaktas because they Sangbandha Ragatmika Bhaktas.
But where is
Yes.
Ragatmika exclusively found, that kind of bhakti? Where is it found? Where is it found?
Where is it found? With whom?
No, where is it distinctly practiced? It's only in Vraj, in Vrindavan.
Yeah, Raja, sorry, correct.
Yes.
Raja, but
And the Vrishnis of Dwarka, do they have knowledge that Krishna is God? Supreme? Is it Aishwarya? It is filled with Aishwarya? Yes?
I think Dwarka Dham is filled with Aishwarya. Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
But
yes.
in Vrindavan, do the
There is no-
Brajvasis accept
there is
Krishna
no
as God?
Aishwarya.
No, it is full with Madhurya. Madhurya means sweetness.
Madhurya.
They are sweetly, supremely attracted to Krishna. They don't accept Krishna as God. So the Vrishnis here is something deep. And, Jeev Goswami clarifies. Later, it will be explained that the Vrishnis refers to the inhabitants of Raj. Vrishnis refers to the inhabitants of Raj, who are Ragatmika Bhaktas having relationships, sambandha, other than Kam, rather than the Vrishnis of Dwarka, who did not have Ragatmika Bhakti. Because Ragatmika Bhakti is only referring to the Vrajvasi, Janadishu, as we had mentioned. Spontaneous attraction towards the object of love, Ishte. During earthly planet pastimes, even the Yadus of Mathura and the Pandavas experience separation from Krishna before he leaves Vraj. Even they also experience separation. Later, they meet him when he leaves Vraj. This state of separation is called Utkantita in the case of rasas other than Madhur Rasa. Thus, after meeting him, they are said to have attained the Lord. So this is about the Jeev Goswami's explanation about this verse. Now, only when we study the next verse, things will become more clear about these two verses. And next two verses are also quite elaborate discussion on that, which will take time. And yes, it will take, there are around 583 to 12 slides, so we cannot complete it. So in the next class tomorrow, I will explain the next verse, next two verses, these two verses, and Rupa Goswami has composed his own verse to explain the scriptural proof what he has given in these previous two verses. So many things are going to become clear again tomorrow. And but still, if you have any questions up till now, what we have discussed, you can ask now. We'll wind up for today now. Tomorrow we will take the other two verses and many more things will become clear when we discuss tomorrow. Any questions, any clarifications? Okay. So we will stop now. Shri Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai.